there, welcome to the Teeny Tinkers channel. I make ball jointed doll and craft related content. Recently I did a video where I made a really tiny little diorama. It was one of those real life ones from Amazon, super cute, super small, and surprisingly not too difficult. What was actually more difficult, however, was the micro doll I made. So I kind of did a rush job on her and I wasn't happy with it. I mean, she's still pretty cute, but she's not what she could be. And I definitely wanted to take an opportunity to try and make the micros even better. This is especially true because I am making micros for the Clover Poppy pre-order. Because everyone who ordered a full payment doll from that pre-order is going to get a micro doll that matches the big doll. So the new micros have undergone a few changes from this. They are slightly smaller and the channels are larger, so they'll be easier to string. This one was also made with leftover resin from a few different resin brands, which is not something I would ever do with customer dolls. For prototyping purposes, it works pretty well. But today's video is not actually about this micro or about the pre-order micros. It's actually about making full sets from the new micros. So yes, wigs, face up, clothing, the whole shebang. I don't think people say shebang anymore. But all this talking about it has got me really stoked to get started, so let's get started. I have these tiny doll shelves that are models of the Billy bookcase from IKEA in 1/4 scale. This helps show the size of these dolls. They definitely would be more SG sized, but they still fit nicely when seated. I have already printed out and finished today's victims. But I do have some really cool transparent dolls going as well. So let's just swap that out so we can take the tan and tangerine prints out. I pop out some elastic cord in 0.5 millimeters and 1 millimeter, itty bitty S-hooks, scissors, and a needle and thread to help with the stringing. After sorting through the tiniest pieces ever, it's time to get started. I decide to make a Poppy, a Clover, and 2 Soleils. I spent a really long time cleaning these pieces. And with how small they are and how tiny the print layers are, I just give them a buff with a magic eraser, and they're good to go. I've been experimenting with different resins again and finally found a combo of cleaning and resin that works really well with my setup and workflow to give the nicest prints I possibly can. Assembling these 4 dolls took me around an hour and a half. Be warned, for something so small, it can be really fiddly. Speaking of fiddly, I use separate cords for each leg because this is easier with the scale of these pieces. With larger dolls, I always string both legs on one elastic though. Also, there's a thing called resin bloat. So when curing, resin can bloat, which makes the channels smaller than they should be or joints slightly tighter than they should be. Occasionally, I have to chisel a channel or a knee joint a little smaller or wider with a craft knife or poke through the channel with an embroidery needle. I definitely recommend using the needle and thread method for stringing dolls this tiny, so have a needle on hand. But finally they are done. Looking cute, ladies. We're doing 4 dolls and time is of the essence. So I take the faces away to get sprayed with MSC. While that's setting, it's time to make the world's tiniest wig caps. The MSC is curing and I want to get this done. I grabbed some extra face plates from the bin to make the heads complete so that I can make the wig caps on these. I'm a hot glue girly. I freaking love my hot glue gun. Hot glue wig caps are both flexible and dry quick. And I've even switched to doing my wefts, or not wefts, with hot glue as well. The strings from the hot glue can be a little annoying, but they're pretty easy to clean up, so I don't really mind. I still have a bunch of this acrylic yarn from Vivi's Trinkets that they gifted to me. So I'm going to work through that. I've actually ordered acrylic roving to make wigs for myself. Well, for my dolls, not for myself. I am slowly working towards mastering the full execution of styling my dolls. But wigs is a battle I am still fighting. In the meantime, I decide to use the peachy color for a space bun style. I use the mint to do a long style with a side part. Then I use this light icy pink to do a wolf cut. For the last wig, I'm not sure what to do because I only have the 3 colors, so I just kind of mixed them together. I think I'm going to make this into a long bob. Remember in 2013 when everyone had this haircut? The wefts go on really quickly and easily. Surprisingly easily. And I give them a press down with my straightener. I lay the outside part of my hot iron onto the parting of the hair. This sort of half melts the glue, which allows me to press the parts down, and when it cools, it stays down. I give the wigs a trim on the dolls so that I can see how much I'm cutting off. I also use some hairspray on the space buns to keep them up. I did tuck and glue the tails in. I think next time I make a space buns wig though, or any updo, I need to make the cap come lower on the head. Because once the hair is up, it just barely covers the head cap. It still works in this case, but there's definitely room for improvement in the future. A couple of these wigs are a little floofier than I would like. So I use cling wrap and elastics to secure the wig to the doll's head overnight. This should help the hair smooth and flatten out and fit better around the doll's face. This worked like a charm. You know what else would be charming? Liking and subscribing. If you've gotten this far, you're probably into this video and this type of content. And I post new ones every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So go ahead, subscribe, and you won't miss out. Okay, so with the wigs done, I get to start painting the faces. So tiny! Honestly, painting tiny faces is still not my strong area. Mature 1/6 scale dolls are usually as small as I typically go, but I'm gonna do my best with these itty bitty canvases. I lay down my yellow, blue, and blush as usual. I call this layer the undertone layer. And I use these little makeup sponge brushes to do it. I like these little makeup sponge brushes because they really help press the pigment into the resin. Well, not into the resin, into the MSC. Into the resin would be a stain. We don't want that. Also, with this layer and these heads, I go ahead and paint the eye bases white. The first iterations of my micros had inset eyes, just like a regular BJD. I sent some of these out for the Christmas craft exchange last year, but other than that, there's not many of these micros out there. The ones I sent out before were about 3 centimeters taller, and this is because scaled any smaller, but without the modifications, these dolls couldn't have been any smaller. But with these new smaller dolls, I switched to paintable eyes for a few reasons. Number 1, the eyelids can be very small and tough to sand at this scale, which can lead to chips. The only chips I want to see are Sweet Chili Heat Doritos. Number 2, the actual eyes end up being about 2 millimeters, insanely difficult to get in and position. Number 3, with paintable eyes, you can paint the eyes open or closed. The lines are so fine, it's easy to disguise the eyeball as part of the lid. Then you can have sleepy dolls. Note to self, make a sleepy clover for your diorama. Okay, I'm building up the line work now. I use gouache to add eyebrows, eye color, lip lines, eyeliner, and everything else they need, including ridiculously small eyelashes. These are a true pain in the butt. Once this is dry, I go back in and add more depth to the blushing. Lip color and light contouring make an appearance here too. Then I seal it all in with MSC. For the final layer, I focus on small details. Filling the brows, eyeshadow, white dots in the eyes, more lip color, and blushing. Getting the lines right is really difficult, and I still need to get one of those microscope things for painting miniatures, so I'm not hunched over doing this 2 inches from my nose. My back will thank me. But with that, they go to the side for a final spray and some gloss to make the eyes and lips shine. But before we start the outfits, let's focus on something else that shines. Yes, it's time for Doll of the Week, the moment where I take a moment to shine a light on your dolls. Sorry for the pun. This week's Doll of the Week is the unpainted but adorable teeny tiny Aria from Thrifty Dolls on Instagram. This troll hair is super funny and cute on her, and I love this photo of Aria and the Frapzilla bloom. Thank you so much for sharing. A quick note that Instagram has removed the recent tags in their last update, so I can no longer see everyone's posts with the hashtag. This is really annoying, and I have personal beef with Instagram now. So I am asking that, as well as using the hashtags, for you to please tag @TeenyTinkers when you post your doll pictures. I do try to follow every account I find with one of my sculpts, but the feed is pretty limited. You can also DM or email them to me if you want to be sure I'll see them. But for now, let's hop back to the video and see the outfits I'm making for these little bitty dolls. I have never used a sewing machine to make clothing this tiny. Usually I hand sew my really tiny items. The smaller an item is, the trickier it is. I look through my fabrics to pull out what I need and decide on doing a couple corduroy bottoms, a sundress with a matching bag in this really cute purple gingham, a cute fuzzy yellow cat onesie, and a couple knit tops. I also cut out the hoodie as a backup if any of them fall apart. I also cut out a yellow hoodie just as a backup in case anything else falls apart. But with the pieces cut, it's getting really late, and it's time to stop here for the night. Everything is cut out and waiting for day 2. Alright, it's the next morning, and I get right back to work. It's time to sew. These tiny hems and cuffs are so hard because the machine tries to eat them. The needle literally pushes the fabric into the machine, and then I have to try and pull it out. Luckily, the machine only took nibbles and no bites, so I didn't need to recut anything. It was a bit frustrating having the machine jam, but I pushed through. I could have hand sewn these items, but I think the lines look neater with the machine. And I want these to look good. I went into this planning to just make these for a fun project and props for my own diorama, but I'm considering adding a couple into my stock sale coming up. I mentioned this in last week's video, but I'm having an in-stock and ready-to-ship sale starting next Wednesday. There will be full MSDs, teeny tinies, one-of-a-kind items, and even some clothes and knitwear available. I will also have a handful of micro kits, and maybe these full-set micros too, so keep an eye out for that announcement. But back to sewing. The yellow pajama is in a minky type fabric, and while super soft, sheds so much. I was covered in the fluff. I have to keep shaking it off, and I had to clean out the bottom of my machine halfway through. It needed it anyways. This fluff is no joke. I'm super happy with it, and I made kitty ears for the hood and a tail to go with it. It's super cute and oversized, so the neck hole is large enough so I don't need to add snaps. But I did use thin Velcro for all the closures. The snaps I have work perfect for MSDs, but even though they're tiny, they look really clunky for these little ladies. Velcro is also really easy to get on and off, which I prioritized with how fiddly and small these items are. Overall, I think everything turned out really cute. I I briefly considered making shoes, but that's not a bridge I've crossed yet. So they are barefoot for now. But barefoot or not, all parts are ready, so let's take a look at how it comes together. They're so tiny and cute. I am much happier with the face-ups and wigs on these compared to last week's trial run. I was also able to shave 1 centimeter off the total height of the doll, making them about 14 centimeters. I could not find strong enough teeny tiny magnets. These would be like 0.5 millimeter. So the heads are blue tacked, but once you add a wig, you don't see it at all. I will make sure to include a small amount of blue tack into any micro kits though. But let me know what you think of these and which is your favorite. I had fun making these even though it was challenging to work so small, but I hope you enjoyed watching the process. If you're already subscribed, thanks so much for subscribing, and if you're new here, I hope you like the content and consider subscribing. As always, I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye!